Early this month, President Uhuru Kenyatta announced the entry of Kenya into the exclusive club of oil exporting nations.
We have joined the world a little bit initially in very small quantities, but we have joined the oil exporting countries of the world. We are now an oil exporter.
Kenya is expected to start earning about 150 billion from crude oil exports every year. However, Tullow Oil petroleum farm says it will take at least 4 years to reach the commercial production stage. This statement comes barely a fortnight after Kenya joined the League of Africa Oil Exporters after its first consignment of 200,000 barrels fetched 1.2 billion Kenyan shillings. Tullow Oil Kenya Managing Director Martin Mbogo say the firm will continue with its non-commercial early oil pilot scheme in the meantime to gather market and production data ahead of the large-scale production. Sentiments echoed by Kenneth Okwaro, a public policy analyst.
That one is for testing whether what we have is commercially viable and testing the markets. So when we the one we sold, I think last week, the one we sold through the government of China. It was sold at about 60 shillings a barrel, which is a very high market rate. So what Tullow is saying is that they are using this to test the market, whether if then they produce more, it will be that which is commercially viable so they can continue to drill or to mine and to sell.
In June, the oil exploration firm signed the head of terms agreement with the Kenyan government, a precursor to the final investment decision agreement. Some of the major reasons why locals in the oil field in Turkana County are resistant to the exploration is stated as not being aware of policies and laws that indicate revenue management of the oil sale.
Some countries decide to have, say, like a fund where they put the money and save it for future generations, or they put the money in that fund and then we can appropriate it, say, for education, for health, for many other things. I heard that I think government is working to develop, I think, a petroleum revenue fund that they could use. But even that is not very. That information is not very open to the public. So a lot more education to the public around how what we get will be saved and spent is also important.
The current early oil exports are expected to give a better assessment for Kenya's oil, whose production is expected to hit 70,000 to 100,000 barrels per day after full field development. At present, tourism is Kenya's biggest revenue earner, grossing about 157 billion last year. Tea exports were valued at an estimated 138 billion Kenyan shillings, while horticulture raked in about 124 billion shillings.
So we must also guard against making oil the main thing, because our economy needs to be diversified to the extent that we encourage manufacturing, we encourage growth of domestic investment that don't necessarily depend on primary production like oil. And there is usually this term that economists call the Dutch disease, that when people discover, say, oil or these natural resources, it gives government negative incentives for growing the economy.
Tullow has been moving the oil by road to Mombasa. It started moving about 600 barrels per day, but raised the volume to 2,000 in May. Dana Rose, Switch TV.